Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I want to share a bunch of different ways to use alphabet dies. Some of my favorite alphabet die designs come from Waffle Flower Crafts because they have really cool fonts and they are reasonably priced. So I'm going to share some brand new and recently released alphabet dies, and I'm going to share a bunch of different ways to use them. These are the two new alphabet die sets from Waffle Flower's February 2021 release. First is the Retro Alpha Die, where you get the bubbly letters themselves, which can be used alone or use them with the shadow layer. And all the individual shadow layers are included. This is the Tower Alpha Die set, and again, you get the individual thin letters and all the blocky shadow layers as well. These are two previously released alpha die sets. The top is the wide alpha die and the bottom is the bold alpha die. These do not come with shadow layers, but both are still perfect sizes for sentiments on cards or even for scrapbook layouts. I cut the word hello using the retro alpha dies in pink, blue, and lavender, and then cut the shadow layers from a darker color of each of those. I'm using tape runner to adhere the letters to the shadow layers. You could also use liquid glue for this, but these letters are not so tiny that you're confined to only using liquid glue alone. I cut a piece of Waffle Flower's JJ's Rainbows pattern paper pad to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm layering it over an A2 piece of white cardstock. This word only fit horizontally on an A2 card, so that's going to be the format for mine. I'm going to pop up each individual letter on foam adhesive and try to line everything up basically straight. I'm starting with the 3 H's and then moving on to the 3 O's so that they have the same margin on the left and the right. And then I fill in the centers. Most of these letters have a big enough area to put a small square of foam tape, making it easy to just tear a small square to pop them up. But the L's needed a thinner piece, so I'm using some non-stick scissors to cut the strip of foam tape in half to pop them up. I have the blue letters at the bottom since it's over 2 stripes of blue on the pattern paper. The pink letters are over the pink and red stripes. Placing them this way, I think, helps give the card a cohesive look so that it seems like they just make sense there. And of course, I love the rainbow and the bright colors of this card, and the triple hello gives a really great background and sentiment. For the next card, I'm using the entire alphabet from the wide alpha die. I cut each letter of the alphabet in a rainbow of Gina K cardstock. I cut the H and the I from black cardstock. I cut a slimline card size from white cardstock and lined up the letters on the slimline card panel. It's easiest to lay them all out first before you start gluing them down. Again, I'm just using tape runner to adhere these letters. I lined up 2 or 3 letters on each line except for the H and the I, which I wanted to have each of those letters bordered by a letter on the outside. This creates both a cute, colorful background and the high sentiment as well. I used a strip of JJ's Rainbows pattern paper, which I had cut down from the panel on the last card. Yes, I am still using up those scraps as much as possible. I adhered the strip with tape runner and then flipped the slimline panel over and used non-stick scissors to snip off the excess. I added some Waffle Flower unicorn enamel dots to the sides and centers of some of the letters. They added some dimension and shine to this otherwise really simple card. The colors seemed to coordinate perfectly with the cardstock, and the size also seemed perfect for these letters. I decided I wanted the high to stand out even more, so I'm using some Tonic Studios Nouveau Crystal Glaze to add dimension and shine to the high letters. It was relatively easy to trace the letters with a decent thick coating of glaze. I used a similar technique to create a second card. I cut the alphabet out of the bold alpha die in blue cardstock. I cut the I and U out of pink cardstock, and I swapped the O with a small die cut heart and added some enamel dots to those die cuts as well. So I have a similar alphabet background and the message "I love you" within it. Another way to use alpha dies is to use them for school-themed cards or teacher thank yous. This is the monitor die from Waffle Flower, which I cut out of black cardstock for the frame. I also cut the same die out of light blue cardstock for the monitor screen. I'm using a sentiment from the Waffle Flower Pencil In stamp set that says, "Thank you, teacher," and I'm lining it up on the upper right of the monitor screen in my mini MISTI. I am stamping this sentiment with black ink. Then I'm using the Tower Alpha die, and those alphas are so skinny that they really do require a small amount of liquid adhesive to adhere them to a shadow layer. I'm using Thermoweb's Ultra Bond to adhere the letters to the shadows, and then I'm adhering the ABC letters with their shadows to the monitor screen using the same adhesive since I have it out, although with the shadow behind them, you could actually use tape runner at that point. I stamped 2 kid images from the Pencil In stamp set, and I'm doing very basic Copic coloring, not really doing any blending here. Occasionally, when images are small like this, I will color the image with a lighter color and then outline the stamped image with a darker color of the same hue for an easy coloring effect, possibly just going in with that lighter color again to blend out those lines. You can see I'm doing that on the pants there. I am using the matching dies and holding them in place with purple tape to die cut these images out. I have a different rainbow pattern paper from Waffle Flower's JJ's Rainbows pattern paper pad, and I've cut it down to 4 by 5.5. So there's a small white border on the sides when I adhere it down to an A2 white cardstock panel. Then I used tape runner to adhere that monitor frame to the pattern paper, and the same to adhere the monitor screen inside the frame. I used foam tape to pop up each kid image on the sides of the monitor. Adding the ABCs is a great embellishment for a teacher thank you card. Another way to use alpha dies is to customize cards or tags by putting the recipient's name right on the card. For this card, I'm stamping the bunny and florals from the new Waffle Flower Hopeful Girls stamp set with Gina K Whisper Amalgam ink. The amalgam ink is light enough to do some basic no-line coloring, and since it's amalgam, it is also Copic safe. So once I'm done with that coloring, I die cut the images and some rectangles from the new A2 Lacy Layers dies. I've also die cut the name from 2 different colors of Waffle Flower's Unicorn Half Dots pattern paper with the retro alpha die. I'm adhering the letters to the shadow layer with the Ultra Bond liquid glue. After adhering the stitched rectangle to the scalloped rectangle from the A2 Lacy Layers die, I popped up the flowers on foam adhesive. The die that cuts the bunny also cuts out his little front paws, which is so cute, and he can be holding a single flower that is also included in the stamp set. But I decided to have him peeking over the hedge of flowers there, so he's holding on to those little flowers. So cute. Lastly, I popped up the name letters on foam adhesive and added them to the card too. Customizing with a name is perfect for, say, a new baby card or for birthday tags. It's just a nice way to make your recipient feel loved. One final way I like to use alpha dies is to create curved sentiments. Curved sentiments offer such a unique look. I'm using the new Waffle Flower Lacy Layers Circle Dies. It's easiest to create a sentiment on a curve if you have a die cut circle to help line up the letters. I'm also using the new Oversized Hope word die for this card. I die cut the oversized Hope word die from white fun foam, and I'm putting Ultra Bond on top of that white fun foam, just little dots all around. I also cut the same die from glitter cardstock from a memory box glitter cardstock pad, and I placed that on top. The slightly slower dry time of the Ultra Bond gives you plenty of time to shift the word die around to make sure that it is lined up. I'll set that aside to dry and start working on the card background. I layered 2 circles from the Lacy Layers Circle Die that I cut out of the unicorn pattern paper half dots pad, and then adhered those onto some pink cardstock. I wasn't sure if I was going to layer the alphas slightly under the circle or over. So I'm only putting tape runner in the middle of the scalloped circle so I have the opportunity to lift it up if I need to. I ended up adhering the love letters at the top of the circle on the arc, just slightly over the scalloped circle. Then I used Ultra Bond behind the dimensional glittered Hope word die cut to adhere it to the center of the circle. I used tape runner to adhere the piece letters under the circle. Using the arc of the circle makes it really easy to line up the sentiment on a curve, and it just gives a totally unique look because most things on cards are so linear. If you want to see more kind of stretch your supply type videos, I'm going to link to an entire playlist over here. If you love seeing card making products and techniques, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I have a new video available. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.